What's going on, guys? So today we're here back with another video, and the topic of today's video is going to be why you should buy, or reasons to buy, a manual transmission vehicle. So to get it off the bat right away, in today's market there's a lot less manual transmission vehicles to buy. They don't come in most vehicles, and in truth and in fact they're generally, in any objective way, not more fuel efficient and not faster. In today's market, where automatic transmissions can come with like 10, 8 gears, they just have a way of being a lot more fuel efficient and a lot quicker with the computers that will be controlling them. So unfortunately that's the case. It's not like how it used to be, how you could have a manual transmission that's faster and got better fuel economy, but it also still has its advantages and reasons why you may want to buy it. Okay, so on to the list of reasons why you may want to choose to buy a manual transmissions car in today's day and age. So number one item, you can get a reduced price on a car if you're trying to buy it. Now this generally applies to used cars, not necessarily new cars. Sometimes the manual will be the standard transmission in economy cars, which will make it a little bit cheaper and you'd have to pay a little bit of a premium to get an automatic. But in the used market in particular, this can be very valuable. Because there are generally less people who know how to drive a manual transmission, they tend to sit on the market a little bit longer. And this applies more to economy vehicles rather than sports cars. And with that being said, if you're looking for an economy vehicle, you can get it at that reduced price because you have more leverage knowing that there aren't as many people looking for that vehicle. Therefore, the seller of that vehicle has an issue where they have a limited buyer market. And with that limited buyer market, they're generally set to have to come to terms with that and deal with selling their vehicle at a lower price unless they get lucky and find someone who's particularly looking for that vehicle. Okay, so reason number two. With buying a manual transmission car, there's always what you'll hear people talk about: added car control. So with the ability to choose your own gears when you want, regardless of what a computer may think, this gives you endless opportunities to do exactly what you want in what you would think would be the best situation. A key situation for this, or scenario, would be that if you drive, let's say, a slower vehicle and you're on the highway and you're trying to accelerate and you have an automatic vehicle. When you're trying to accelerate, those vehicles are usually tuned or set up in a way that are trying to achieve the best fuel economy. So if you put your foot to the floor, it might hesitate and try to downshift only one gear when maybe you needed to go down 2 gears in order to get up to highway speeds. Well, if you had your manual transmission, you can choose that gear. So if your car had already upshifted to 5th or 6th, and really because of the amount of power your car has and the shortness of this on-ramp, you need to be into 3rd gear right away to get up to speed. Well, now you can just choose to skip directly to 3rd gear versus having the computer drop down from 6th to 5th. And then you still realize it doesn't have enough power because you're keeping your foot on the floor. So it goes from 5th to 4th. With that added control, you skipped right to where you needed to go, and you can get up to speeds the way that you found would be the most efficient for that situation, right? Because you can see what's happening, so you have the opportunity to pick what would be best. Yes, an automatic knows a lot, or not knows a lot, but is set up in a situation where it can do most things and figure it out. But sometimes you just seeing that situation and having a better understanding because you can visually observe it gives you that upper hand. Third reason, manual transmissions are generally easier to repair. So if people have an issue with their transmission, if for whatever reason it got damaged, it blew up, the repair costs for a manual transmission are just generally lower. They're less complicated, and they have parts that are simpler, and people are easier, and it's easier for most mechanic shops to deal with them and get us a quick, simple repair done at a lower cost. Number 5 on the list would be that manual transmissions generally weigh less. So if you're into cars, and you always kind of want a lighter vehicle. Lighter, usually it's adjacent to better performance. Regardless if it's a few pounds or not, having a lighter vehicle is generally better than having a heavier vehicle. That just goes without saying. So the manual transmission version of the same car often weighs less. They often take up less space, and overall then actually have just a less weight, which can improve the handling capabilities and the acceleration of the vehicle, although generally an automatic would be quicker just because it shifts quicker. But you may enjoy having less weight in your vehicle, depending on where you live and how you drive in all the different situations. There's also the fact that you always hear people talk about you don't want a manual transmission because of traffic. Now, you're going to have to take that in consideration for yourself. How much traffic do you actually deal with? Some people deal with a lot of traffic where really it might be unbearable to drive a manual car. And some people drive mainly in the city and they don't have that much traffic. But they hear the stigma that having a manual transmission is so unbearable in traffic. I drive one every day. I deal in traffic. It's really not that bad. Most times I'm not in that much of a crazy traffic jam where it would be terrible. Every once in a while I get stuck in a crazy traffic jam, and yes, it would have been nice to have an automatic for that time period, but it doesn't happen often enough where I would trade off the control and the feeling of driving a manual transmission for that one time or once every few months where I'm stuck in a traffic jam. The next reason would be you get a sense of accomplishment while learning. So if you've never driven a manual transmission and this might be your first car, or you're just looking at your second car and you're seeing these good deals on manuals and you're saying, I don't really know how to drive one, but like they're there and they're available, and maybe you have a friend that can teach you. The sense of accomplishment to learning to drive a manual transmission is something that people find very pleasing. I've had friends where you try to teach them and they're pretty much against having manual transmission. They think about the traffic, even though they don't drive in that much traffic. They think about the hassle it may be. They just want to cruise around. But once you get them in that car and you get them shifting their own gears and stuff, they feel this sense of accomplishment, something they've never felt before, or other than when they just maybe were just first learning how to drive. So they gave them this next step, and they start to have this better understanding how their vehicle works, and it makes them more excited to drive their vehicle on a daily basis. And that would lead into the next point of why you might want to buy a manual transmission. It was just a sense of purpose while driving. You'll always hear people talk about while they have a manual transmission, they feel a better connection to the car. They feel like they're actually doing something. And this is something that you would truly experience once you have one. And once you have one, you'll see that there's more to it than just cruising around. You'll feel like you have perfect control over the vehicle. You and the vehicle are doing things in sync. And it makes you feel a lot more competent in your driving and gives you a better experience subjectively while you're driving your vehicle in everyday scenarios. Some days it may be annoying due to traffic, but there's times where you're going to have a nice driving road and you're going to be really pleased that you have the opportunity to shift your own gears, and it creates a whole new dynamic of how you are feeling while driving your car in particular. So this is my list of reasons why someone may want to drive a manual vehicle. I hope if you guys liked this video, if you found it helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll get you in the next video.